Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Bittensor TAO. I'm not a financial advisor. You should always do your own research before investing money into crypto. TAO has been on a rally seemingly because of bullish Nvidia, recent news, and as you can see from this pump at the beginning of April, we were sitting at $170. Now we're up $328 with a $2.82 billion market cap. This is one of the leading AI projects in the space, and a lot of YouTubers, big names like Alex Becker, are betting on Bittensor, and I do have it in my portfolio. Our entry was at $270. I think it was around over here when we were dropping down, but we were also talking about this coin on our live streams and on Patreon during this correction. So if you were on our Patreon, you could have potentially picked this up below $180. And this token is listed on every single major exchange you can think of, so it's not going to be very hard getting your hands on TAO. Now let's switch over to the weekly chart, and we're going to take a look at this chart here. Not a lot of trading history, but what I do want to focus on is the fact that right now we are running into the weekly 20 EMA, and a few days ago on Patreon, I believe yesterday, we did an exit strategy for Bittensor, and we covered the possibility of hitting the 20 EMA on the weekly. So if you were looking for a short-term trade, you could have already taken profits. But for those of you who are holding out for the long term, there is a possibility that we're going to be breaking past the all-time high later this year. At least that's my expectation. But I do suggest taking profits at the all-time high if we do indeed get there, because you want to be securing your profits. You don't want to let your coins run without selling anything at all, especially when we're getting this close to the end of the cycle. Now, down here you can see a strong support block that we have revisited 3 times since 2024. So once in January 2024, then 2 times actually here in July and August, same year, and right now April 2025. This was our most recent touch. And the picture that we're seeing here is essentially a sideways channel here. We're in this range and we can't do anything, right? We're coming back up and then coming down, coming back up and then coming back down. So something needs to give here. We have to break out of this range, and I do think breaking past the all-time high here is the likely scenario if we're going to be continuing with this bull market. And I think we are continuing the bull market. This is just a mid-bull market correction. If you disagree, of course, that's your opinion. You can let me know down below in the comments, why do you think so? And in that case, you shouldn't really be looking into opening new positions for any crypto projects. Now, I would probably wait before getting into Bittensor at the moment. Yes, it's still a good trade, but it has gone up quite significantly from that bottom, already 90%. So I would say wait for a retracement here. It's possible we're going to get one. If not, then just look for a different coin if we continue pumping, because you don't want to be buying something that has already started pumping. You want to be buying the downtrend here. So anywhere between $218 to $180, that was an amazing buying opportunity. If you're looking at some entry points sooner rather than later, you can potentially start building at $307, but again, that's a little bit too high for my taste. We're going to switch over to the daily chart in just a few moments here to take a look at the EMAs over there. If we take a look at the oscillators, what we're getting here is the relative strength index is starting to recover, and the stochastic has already recovered from the oversold, and now we're slowly but surely starting to approach the overbought on the weekly. If we do end up getting towards the overbought like we did back here in 2024, late 2024, this could be a signal to at least secure some profits, right? If the stochastic starts getting up that high, if the relative strength index starts breaking past 70 on the on this chart, then you definitely want to be securing some profits, especially this late into the bull market. So those are some key indicators for you to look out for. And if we do get a bullish cross on the MACD here, this would confirm our uptrend. The last time this happened was in September 2024, and that's when we started peaking out here the first time in October, and then once again in December. But that was a bearish divergence on the weekly chart already, and on the on the RSI and on the stochastic. So you can see the price action printed a higher high over here, while the RSI printed a lower high, and the same goes for the stochastic, lower high. So that was a bearish divergence, and that was one of the signals that was telling us we're potentially going to be seeing a correction here. And this was quite a significant correction, 77%, but we have recovered, and from the current price we're only 134% away from the all-time high. So I do think around a $10 billion market cap is possible. So let's say around a 3x from here would be a 200% move to the upside, and that would take us up to $973. So that would be a good area to potentially target if you're targeting around $10 billion market cap. Of course, with the inflation of the token, the market cap isn't going to be precisely $10 billion, and you shouldn't necessarily only sell based on the price or the market cap. There are other factors you have to include, such as macro events, macroeconomics, and the Bitcoin chart. But you should definitely keep an eye on the market cap, because that is one of the key metrics you want to be looking at. So we're waiting for that bullish cross on the MACD. We're waiting for the stochastic and the relative strength index to get into their respective oversold zones. The volume seems to be doing okay on Bittensor's weekly chart. Let's switch over to the daily and let's see what's going on here. Okay, so on the daily here, we are breaking past the 20 EMA and the 55 EMA. And this did happen a few times before during this downtrend since the peak in December. Mainly, I'm going to outline the few times it did happen. So that was our first instance in January. And then we had a similar instance over here in February 2025. So every single time you get past the 55 EMA, you start retracing back down to retest it as support, okay? And you end up losing it and you continue crashing to the downside. So mathematically speaking, there is a possibility for this to happen once again. It has happened 2 times before. Will it happen the 3rd time? Now, the resistance that we can add here is going to be this trend line over here. So we have retested this trend line multiple times. Let me just move this over right over here. So now the 2 circles are highlighting the points of contact with the resistance trend line, and it seems like we're running into that trend line once again on the daily chart. So what I want to see is I want to see a break of this trend line, and I want to see volume. So the volume has to remain or has to increase, right? If we have no volume yet we have a breakout, it's more likely than not it's a fake breakout and we're gonna crash back down. So definitely keep an eye on this little structure here. If we open up the RSI on the daily chart, we're very close to the overbought. So let's see what happens in the next few days. If I decide to take some profits, I'll definitely let my patrons know first. And you can take a look at our Patreon down below. In the description, there will be a link to a 14-day free trial. You can take, or rather 7-day free trial. You can take a look at all of my posts, all of my portfolios, etc. And you can decide whether you want to stick around or not. So you have 7 days to do that. And as we can see, the relative strength index on the daily peaked out here in September 2024. And then once again in November 2024. So logically, you want to be selling when it's getting overbought. So if you want to be extra safe, you can start taking profits right now, maybe sell 10-15% of your position. that's not a bad decision whatsoever. And yeah, that's what I would be doing if you wanted to get out safely as soon as you can. Or if you want, you can sell your entire position and switch over to another mid-cap altcoin. It depends on what your plan is. But in my opinion, Bittensor is very likely to get back up to its all-time high and then break the all-time high as well. So we're going to be probably looking at around $1,000. But if you want concrete prices, from what I'm targeting, make sure to take a look at our exit strategy on Patreon. Let me know, what are your thoughts on Bittensor? Are you buying in right now? Do you have a position? And what are your targets? Thank you all and stay safe.